recording.
I can't remember what the S was, but I think I've got the rest.
Which one are you going for? What are you?
The first one. I can't remember what the S is in Mrs.
Okay, try and see if you can remember the other one. You've got all the other 6?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, so tell me what you've got then.
So movement.
Yeah.
Respiration.
Yeah.
Growth.
Ooh. Okay. Because it's the S that you don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, and then
Okay.
growth. Reproduction.
Good.
Is it excretion?
Yeah.
And is it last one nutrition?
Correct. Okay, so that S is for sensitivity.
Oh, okay.
So they're sensitive. Yeah, to changes. So they'll respond to changes in the environment. Good. Okay.
I can't remember what glycogen is.
Glycogen.
Um,
Glycogen. Now you'd have probably encountered it in the previous homework. Try and have a little think. What is it used for, perhaps? Might you remember what it's used for?
No, I can't remember.
Okay.
What glucose is. But...
Okay, so this here, this is a simple sugar.
Yeah.
From which we release energy. This here is a complex sugar. And it's stored in your muscle cells for use so that when you start exercising, this glycogen is broken down to glucose. So you have a quick supply of glucose as opposed for it to having to come through the blood. Okay, so that's a complex sugar which breaks down into glucose. Okay.
Is a eukaryotic cell a plant cell?
Okay, any other examples?
Would it be? Would it does photosynthesis count?
Metabolic reaction, yes, it does, absolutely. But let's remind ourselves, what are eukaryotic cells? Because you need to know this term. Absolutely now need to know it because you've seen it quite a few times. Eukaryotic. What are examples of eukaryotic cells?
Are they plant cells?
Good. And another example?
I can't remember.
Animal cells.
I thought.
These comprise your eukaryotic cell. These two.
Wait, which one is the what's the There's a prokaryotic cell.
So what do you reckon a prokaryotic cell could be then?
Would it be like bacteria?
Correct.
Oh, okay.
So these terms are used in your exam papers. So they will not tell you that it's a bacteria cell. They will use the term prokaryotic. So be aware the difference between eukaryotes and prokaryotes. Okay.
So it would be photosynthesis and respiration.
Correct.
Would actually, I'm not sure. Would I'm not sure what.
Well, try and make a link. Our first question you're going to ask, are prokaryotic cells living? Are they living cells?
No.
Bacteria cells, think about it. Are bacteria living or are they dead?
Living.
They're living. That's why they can cause diseases. Okay, so they are living. Now look back to what you've just said on the 7 characteristics of living things.
So could any of those 7, all of those 7 metabolic reactions?
No, absolutely not.
So is it just respiration?
Correct.
Oh. So is it just respiration that's a metabolic reaction?
Correct.
Oh, okay.
So metabolic reactions. So what do we mean by metabolic reactions? Can you remember what metabolic reactions are?
It'd be like, I'm not sure. I'm not sure how to describe it.
Metabolic reactions are all the reactions, all the chemical reactions. To be very precise, they are chemical reactions that take place in cells, all the chemical reactions, yes, that aid that organism to live. That is what we mean by metabolic reactions. Okay, so it's a living thing, so respiration would be an absolute target for that one, okay? Here you mentioned respiration and photosynthesis, which was good. And so these two are common to, these two are common to eukaryotes and prokaryotes because they are living things. Okay, so last time in biology, we were looking at anaerobic respiration. Can you tell me what you remember about our discussion?
Is it where, so there's Is it little or no oxygen
Yeah.
in the reaction? So so
So you say little or no oxygen, and we'll
yeah,
say no oxygen. Because anaerobic means in the absence of oxygen. So yeah, no oxygen. Yeah, so what else can you remember? How does it compare to aerobic respiration? So aerobic respiration has oxygen, this has no oxygen. Any other things you can remember?
because there's no oxygen. I can't. Does it like lead? I can't remember what it makes, but do those things lead to cramps?
Yeah. So can you remember the equation
Wait for respiration.
for anaerobic respiration in animals?
So it would be maybe wait. Wait, I need to wait. What was the normal respiration one? Is it
So can you remember the normal respiration one for aerobic?
oxygen plus so oxygen plus water.
Think about it a little bit more again, because it's taking place in your body right now.
Oh, wait, is it oxygen plus glucose?
Correct.
Yeah. So would it just be glucose equal?
So can you finish off the aerobic respiration one? Just started it
Probably
now.
carbon dioxide
Yeah,
plus water.
good.
Wait, is it?
Anything else?
Carbon dioxide. I don't think so. Wait, is that over the top? Is it sunlight? I mean, light energy.
For respiration,
Oh, wait, no, that's photosynthesis.
take your time.
Wait,
What's the main reason why you're undertaking aerobic respiration? Why is it taking place in your cells? Why?
so like you don't get cramp and stuff.
Yeah, but there's something much more important than that. What does
Breathe.
respiration provide? It can't be carbon dioxide because you're not using that. It can't be water. You're not really needing that because you do drink water. What is the main purpose of respiration? Remember, it is something that is displayed by all living organisms. So why do all living organisms want to respire? Any ideas?
I've forgotten.
Because they want to produce energy.
Oh.
There's nothing you can do or nothing that any cell can do without this. That's the key product.
Wait, so when you're writing, would you not have to write energy if you're writing it as a
chemical equation?
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's no chemical formula. But
Okay.
if you're writing a word equation, include energy, because that is the sole purpose of respiration. It is to provide the organism with energy. Now I'm going to ask you a question and say, what is this energy used for?
Like,
why does it want the energy? What is it going to use that energy for?
wait, the plants or
Any
us?
cell.
Oh,
Because we've seen that prokaryotes, eukaryotes, they all use or they all respire. So what do they use that energy from respiration for?
wait, is it to? Oh, I've forgotten.
Okay, so think about it. Just
Wait,
from your point of view, what do you need energy for?
movement.
Remember, that's a little trick for biology. Just try and relate everything that we learn to your own body. Make life very, very easy. So don't dissociate yourself, because you're also a living organism. Don't dissociate yourself too far from it. What do you need energy for?
Movement.
Movement, good. So when there's movement, what happens for movement to happen?
Wait, what? Sorry.
For movement to take place, what needs to happen?
We need energy.
I know, but you need energy. But where does that energy go?
Oh, to your muscles.
To your muscles. What are the muscles doing to help you move? How do the muscles help you move? What do they do?
Contracting.
Very good. So contraction of muscles to aid movement. Okay, what's the other need for energy? Why do you need energy as well? So for movement, there's something else.
So
can't think of any.
And
To maintain a constant internal body temperature.
oh yeah.
Without energy, you cannot do that. Okay. What about in plants? Can you remember active transport?
Not really.
Okay, so active transport. Remember all the time when things diffuse, how do things normally diffuse? Can you tell me about the process of diffusion?
So do they go from is this like going from a high concentration area to a low concentration area?
Correct. Just like when you take your perfume or cologne, whatever it is, and you spray it in one side of the room, what do you soon realize? It permeates through the whole room. How did it get to the other side of the room when you didn't spray that side of the room?
Just travel through the particles, like.
Yeah, and what's that process called of how it went from the small area where you sprayed to filling up the whole room?
Is that active transport?
Not quite. That is what you call diffusion. Because if you're in a room.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, something been sprayed in a little corner, it soon finds its way in areas where it's of less concentration, and we call that diffusion. Now in plants, sometimes, now this happens naturally. So diffusion, remember, is from high concentration to low concentration. Now, what about if you need to get something where it's in low concentration and you want to take it to a place where it's in high concentration? What do you call that?
Would that be active transport?
Correct. And what do you need to be able to take something from low concentration to a place of high concentration? You need energy, because you cannot do it. It can't happen on its own. Things naturally only go from a high concentration to low concentration. If you go from low concentration to high concentration, you need to do some work for that, okay? And that process is what we call this process here, from high concentration to low concentration. I'm going to write it here, active transport. Now, where does active transport happen? In plants, when they're getting mineral ions, they already have a high concentration of mineral ions inside them, but they still need to get more into the plant. So that is a process of active transport. Where else does it happen? Inside our bodies, we already have a lot of glucose in our blood. But when we digest our food, we need to get it from the small intestines to the blood. So we need to do work to get something that's in low concentration to get it to a high concentration. Okay. Any other things that we can think of? Have I given you a bit of an enlightenment to try and think of some more uses of the energy? So low concentration to high concentration. No, but it's another important one you need to remember. Okay, so to build larger molecules requires energy as well. Okay, so after this session, I want you to take some time and try and go through these. All right, these four. These are the main ones because you may have to answer 6 mark. What is energy used for? Okay, so building larger molecules. Where have we seen this building of larger molecules? We've seen this when we've been looking at glucose being turned into what? To glycogen, which can then be stored in the cells. This is a large molecule, that's a small molecule. Okay, to do that doesn't happen automatically. As they say in America, there's no free lunch. So something has to come from somewhere. Energy is needed, and that energy is used to turn glucose to glycogen. Okay, so those are the uses of energy. Of course, we can write still a few more, yeah, but these are the main kind of headlines. So that is why we carry out respiration. It's to help out with all these other processes. Now remember that respiration is only one of 1,000 other chemical reactions that are taking place. But in terms of importance, it is the most important. Okay? Because the other chemical reactions would not be able to happen if respiration did not take place. Right? So now we've remembered, or we've reminded ourselves of aerobic respiration. Let's go to anaerobic respiration, and we say no oxygen. What's the equation for anaerobic respiration?
So it'd be,
in animal cells.
would it just be glucose
Yeah.
equals it is CO2 plus H2O.
Not quite. Glucose is just turned straight into lactic acid.
Oh yeah.
That's a nice, easy equation where the glucose is quickly turned into lactic acid. But of course, this stuff is toxic. Now, in terms of the amount of, now this, it's a word equation, so I'm missing something here. Yeah. What do you reckon I'm missing at my word equation?
Would it be energy?
Correct. Because the whole reason why anaerobic respiration is taking place is because the body is under emergency circumstances and it needs energy. So in either of these, energy is the main product. Okay. Now, of course, lactic acid is undesirable. All right. So it causes cramps and your cells cannot perform optimally. So eventually, after you finish exercising, you have something known as an oxygen debt. Okay. So can you tell me anything you remember about the oxygen debt?
Right.
What can you remember about the oxygen debt?
Well, you need to like breathe, like take deeper breaths and like faster breaths in to like gain back like the not energy loss, but I mean oxygen loss, but like oxygen needed to like get your heart, maybe for your heart to start pumping normally again.
Not quite. The reason why you're breathing in a lot afterwards, the oxygen debt is helping you break down this lactic acid. Okay, that's what it's there for. So the oxygen, so after you have an oxygen debt, okay, so we have an oxygen debt repayment after vigorous exercise. Now, in this case, what happens is that the lactic acid now combines chemically, so it's a chemical reaction, with the oxygen which you're breathing in to then form carbon dioxide plus water. Okay, so this is during the oxygen debt repayment. And that is why we have it, is because we've got a lot of lactic acid in there. All right, so now this is here. Please note, I've been very specific. I've said in animal cells. That is the equation you need to know for anaerobic respiration in animal cells. Also note that some bacteria as well, when they respire, now I'm talking about prokaryotes, when they respire anaerobically, they also produce lactic acid, okay? So for example, bacteria that are used to make yogurts. Did you know yogurt is made from bacteria?
Yeah.
Yes. Anaerobic conditions are introduced, and those respire anaerobically, and they produce lactic acid as well. And it is that lactic acid which they produce, which allows us to make yogurt. So this equation is for animal cells, but also some prokaryotic cells. Now it's a different story in plant cells. How do you reckon it's different in plant cells? When plant cells respire anaerobically, what are the differences between anaerobic respiration in plant cells and animal cells?
Would there not be a buildup of lactic acid?
Plant cells, you're right, will not produce lactic acid. So if we look now at anaerobic respiration, so anaerobic respiration, plant cells. Now for this one, we have glucose. Now note that it is the starting product in both animal cells as well as prokaryotes. Glucose is the starting product. That is what we're getting our energy from. But this time we get ethanol plus carbon dioxide plus energy, which is transferred to the environment. Now let's ask a question again. How do you think, I'll go back to the previous slide. How do you think the energy compares in an anaerobic respiration reaction if you compare it to aerobic respiration? Which one produces more energy? For the same amount of glucose.
Wait, did you say between
So if we compare aerobic respiration
animal
anaerobic respiration, and I use 1 kilogram of glucose here, and I also use 1 kilogram of glucose in this anaerobic respiration, how will the amount of energy produced compare?
Just for plants?
No, in both. Let's look at both. Let's look at cells in your body. Let's look at muscle cells. Let's just stick to one type of cell. Yeah, let's keep one thing constant. So I give 1 kilogram of glucose to your cells. Okay, same number of cells. and they produce some energy via aerobic respiration. Then I give them 1 kilogram of glucose, same cells, and this time they respire anaerobically. So in both cases, energy will be produced. But how will the amounts compare? Will they be the same?
Wait, so the amount would it be more in aerobic?
Correct. In anaerobic, it's a fraction of what is produced in aerobic. So this is not an efficient way. An aerobic respiration is not an efficient way to respire at all. That is the reason why is that oxygen debt repayment, okay, because of it. So we can also make a point here to note that energy output is less in anaerobic respiration. Okay?
Is that for both animal and plant?
For both animal and plants, correct. Okay? So that's for both animals and plants. And I can make a little side note here to say this applies for both animals and plant cells. Okay. So we move on to anaerobic respiration in plants. Oh, why is that not? Is that not going to my next slide? There we go. So there we go. So we get glucose, ethanol plus carbon dioxide plus energy, which is transferred to the environment. Now, this happens in plant cells, but it also happens in a certain type of protist. And this protist is in yeast cells as well. Oops, yeast. And this process, so when it happens in yeast cells, so when anaerobic respiration happens in yeast cells, we have a name for it. What do you reckon it's called? It is called fermentation. Heard that word before?
No.
Okay. So it is called fermentation. And this is one way, fermentation is one way, for example, of how ethanol is produced on a mass scale. Now, ethanol has some uses. Do you know any uses for ethanol?
So, I don't know what its uses are, but is it like really flammable?
It is flammable, yes, so you're right. So if something's flammable, what kind of uses may it have?
I'm not sure.
So think to the chemistry. Think about all the flammable stuff that you know. You know a lot of flammable stuff. What do we normally use flammable stuff for?
Is petrol flammable?
Petrol is very, very, very flammable. Extremely flammable.
So,
extremely.
so
You do not want any part of your clothing to have petrol anywhere near it. Extremely flammable. That's the reason why cell phones are not even allowed at petrol stations, because a slight little spark and the whole place is history. So what do we use flammable stuff for?
Petrol.
Petrol is an actual name of a substance, but what do we use it for?
Yeah.
Petrol is a type of what?
Gasoline. Gas.
Gasoline is a type of what?
Fuel.
Of course. That's what we call fuel. All right. So Don't mistake fuel and use the word petrol. Petrol is a type of fuel. Gasoline is a type of fuel. Okay, so ethanol is a fuel, and you have certain cars in Brazil which are powered by ethanol. So what they do is they have huge fermentation batches where they can obtain this ethanol. Now, the key thing to note is when this fermentation is carried out, it has to be carried out under certain conditions. Okay, so these conditions have to be provided so that the cells or the yeast cells are not killed. So some of the conditions are we carry it out at a temperature of between 30 to 35 degrees. Okay, now why is that temperature opted for?
Wait, is that to store it?
No, when the whole fermentation is happening. So what happens is it's a very basic setup, if you like. So if I have yeast. Now, where do we use yeast? Where do we find yeast?
In bread.
Correct. Why do you use yeast in bread?
Does it expand?
Not the yeast itself, no.
I'm not sure.
Okay. When you put yeast in bread, the yeast carries out aerobic respiration.
Oh.
And when it carries out aerobic respiration, what does it produce?
Carbon dioxide.
Well done. And that carbon dioxide gets trapped in the bread. So what do you get? Ever wondered why your bread appears to have holes in it?
Oh,
okay. And so it rises. You've got more bread. If this didn't have holes, it would be this flat and very, very dense. So we put the yeast in there with the sugars. What does it do? Carries out aerobic respiration because it's got access to oxygen and makes this dough rise. And so when we bake our bread, we have something that has got a little bit more substance. Okay. Now this time when we're carrying out, so that is one example where you find these yeast cells. Now, when we're carrying out anaerobic respiration, we don't want any oxygen, do we? No, we don't. So we're going to seal this completely. But before that, I take another solution. Now this solution is a glucose solution or sugar solution. And of course, now it's important that I seal this. Why do I need to seal it?
So oxygen doesn't get in.
Exactly. So no oxygen goes in. Now anaerobic respiration can start. I want to make sure that my temperature is at about that 30 to 35. Leave it for some days, leave it for some time, depending on how big my batch is. And when I come back, there will be ethanol. There'll be lots of bubbles. Matter of fact, this will be so pressurized to a point that this cork or whatever it is that's stopping it can easily be blown off. So to try and avoid that, yes, what is generally done to avoid that, slightly different setup is used, okay? And to avoid this pressure building overly to the point that this explodes, because if I just cover it and seal it, the pressure is going to build up. Why would the pressure build up? Because this guy is being produced. Carbon dioxide is still being produced. You happy with that?
Yeah.
So to avoid that, what do I do? Or what do people do? They have this setup. Down here, you have water. Of course. How is this better than just putting a bung over the top?
Wait, is that part at the top of that tube? Is it
Yes, it's
No,
tightly
I mean,
fixed in there.
at the like
The
at
tube
the
goes down, all the way down.
at the top of the
At the top of the tube,
yeah.
it's
What is
open,
that?
just open to the air.
And it's so doesn't oxygen still get in?
No, oxygen can't get in because it's blocked. There's water here. So U-tube looks like this. So if I put liquid in here, there's no way, oops, there's no way oxygen can get in.
Yeah, I thought.
No way. It can't.
Um.
It needs pressure to push its way through. So what do you think happens with this setup? It's a bit hard to visualize. This will allow the carbon dioxide to bubble its way to the outside.
Oh, okay.
But the oxygen can't do that. Why can this allow the carbon dioxide to bubble out?
I'm not sure.
Think about what we just said. There's a high pressure of gases building in here because carbon dioxide is being produced. So this is such at a high pressure. If something is at a high pressure, what eventually happens? It forces its way out. If you didn't have this setup, remember what I said, because of the gas pressure, what would happen to that bung? It would explode out. So because this is at high pressure, it can move out and bubble out. But what about the oxygen in the atmosphere? Is it at high pressure?
No.
No, so it's not going to find its way in. The only way it can find its way in is if you literally blew it in with something, a pump or something that's at high pressure. So that's the reason, because this is at high pressure. So the carbon dioxide gas starts forming, the pressure increases, and eventually it bubbles through this U-shaped funnel. Okay, so we're going back to the main point of talking about why then this has to be kept at 30 to 35. Why is it kept at 30 to 35 degrees Celsius?
This is it because I don't know.
So again here, connect synoptically to what you learned about enzymes. These are living things, so they've got enzymes. What can you remember about enzymes?
Do they like die if they're not kept at this?
Now, enzymes are not living things, so living things that are not living cannot die. You can't use the word die for enzymes. They are not living things. So let's just make sure we write that somewhere so you can remind yourselves. What are enzymes? Can you remember what they are?
They what, like, not, I don't know how to explain it. It's like things that take
I don't quite remember.
can't really like.
They are biological catalysts.
Yeah, I knew
What is a catalyst? Remember this because it's 2 marks, 2 easy marks. See this word in chemistry, so it's a word that should start ringing bells. It's the only time you see it in biology. It's with these guys called enzymes. At high temperatures, they don't die. And please note, they are not living things. These are just catalysts. What is a catalyst?
They speed up a reaction without getting used up.
Well done. That's the full definition. Top marks. Okay. So these are not living things. So if you raise the temperature well above this, something happens to them. We don't use the word die. Can you try and remember what the word is? That's with a D as well. Can't remember it?
No.
Enzymes, it's a keyword. Get denatured. Meaning the nature. Oh, I'll take this off. They get denatured. The shape is altered, get denatured at high temperature. So the shape is altered and they cannot then catalyze the reaction. Now, respiration uses enzymes as well, so that the reaction can take place quicker, okay? So 30 to 35 affords us an optimal temperature for the enzymes. Yes, to function. Okay? So these are the key things you need to remember for this fermentation process. You need your yeast cells, a temperature of 30 to 35, a glucose solution, and a setup which does not allow oxygen to get into that reaction vessel. Now, once everything is finished, you're obviously going to have in this solution, you're still going to have some of your yeast cells. It's going to be quite murky. So how would you then go on further to obtain the ethanol? Well, then what happens after that is a process where you carry out distillation. Now, this is some chemistry coming in there, okay? So the ethanol boils off at 78 degrees Celsius, and then you can condense it and collect it as a liquid. You happy with that?
Yeah.
Okay, great stuff. So let's remember this equation for anaerobic respiration in plant cells, but it also occurs in yeast cells. Hopefully it will be easy for you to remember, because yeast is something that you find in bread, and yeah, we all have bread as a regular staple. So hopefully it will give you a bit of a reminder there. Good. Any questions so far?
No.
Right. Okay. So let's go on and talk about, because you're doing the higher tier, you also trying to move this. Oh dear. Oh, there we go. I was just trying to move image there so I can then go to the next page. Okay, so metabolic reactions, we've spoken about, just making sure that you are aware. Can you remember what I said about what metabolic reactions are?
The chemical reactions.
Yeah.
That take place in the cell.
Correct. That necessitate or help to keep that life process going in the cell. Okay. So we've got loads of these. So you mentioned photosynthesis. Yes, you mentioned respiration, but also breaking down of proteins, things that are in excess as well. Okay. Those reactions that build bigger molecules, all those are metabolic reactions as well. All right. So I just thought I'd make a point there. Now, for your higher tier paper, you also need to know about the role of the liver. The role of the liver. What do you think the role of your liver is? What do you think the role of the liver is?
Does it break down like, is it, I know it's like I don't know like in general what it is, but I know like with alcohol, like it breaks down.
Yeah, absolutely correct. Okay. Now it's a large reddish brown organ, and it carries out many different functions in the body. It's got a lot of functions. Okay. So it's a pretty important organ. Okay. And part of the roles Now these again, because you're doing the higher paper, you need to try and practice these in writing a few essays about them so that you can remember it in the long term as well. So it's used for detoxifying poisonous substances. What's the other word for poisonous substances?
Maybe toxins.
Correct. Nice and easy. So you can use the word toxins. And you gave an example, e.g. alcohol. Okay? Or ethanol. Secondly, it passes breakdown products.
Wait.
Passes breakdown products. So when it breaks things down, it passes these products into the blood. Okay? So they can be excreted. Remember that E in Mrs. Gren? Excretion, remember that? So the liver has a role to play. Excreted in the urine via the kidneys. Okay, another more important crucial role that it plays is in breaking down old and worn out red blood cells. And storing the iron. And storing iron from them. Now, do you know a little bit about the makeup of a red blood cell? What is the purpose of a red blood cell?
Red. I can't remember what red blood cells is.
So your red blood cells they carry oxygen.
Oh yeah.
So they're pretty good friends to have. Okay, they carry oxygen. And this is what's helping that process of respiration. So they have a big part to play. Now, what helps them to carry oxygen is they have a lot of iron in them. They're very iron rich. And they have a substance in there called hemoglobin. Now, you need to know this as well. Contain hemoglobin. Hemoglobin. Now, this hemoglobin combines with oxygen when the red blood cells get to your lungs. Okay, the oxygen, remember, diffuses into your lungs. There's a high concentration on the outside, low concentration. So it diffuses and it combines with the hemoglobin and it forms oxyhemoglobin. That's another word, oxyhemoglobin. That's hemoglobin that has combined with oxygen. Now, because their function is so specialized, they are unlike really any other cell in your body. How do you think they differ from the cells in your body?
From
the other cells in your body, the other cells you have in your body.
Wait, like?
In terms of parts, in terms of what they have.
Would they be? So
I'll draw the shape of it. They look a bit like this. If you look at them from the side, if you cut them sideways. And if you look at them from the top, they look like this. Like a donut, but of course without a hole in the middle. This dips and then comes out. So I took a cut through there, and now I'm looking at it there like so.
So, what?
Rather unique. These guys here, if you don't know much about them, this again you need to know, they do not have a nucleus. Why don't they have a nucleus?
So, do they not, like, so they just, like, do, I'm not sure how to explain it, but do they just, like, do what, like, all the same thing, the same thing, so,
Not quite, actually. I see where you're coming from. I see exactly where you're coming from. But the reason why they don't have a nucleus, your skin cells all do the same thing, but they have a nucleus. All your other cells for a particular organ do the same thing, or for a particular tissue, but they have a nucleus. Your muscle cells all have a nucleus. The reason why is because you want to maximize the amount of oxygen you can carry. If you put a nucleus in there, you don't have as much space to carry oxygen, do you?
no.
The body has prioritized this mission, I'll call it, of respiration so much that to try and make things so efficient, okay? Nature is the mother of efficiency. It removes the nucleus. It's not needed. We want to maximize the amount of oxygen.
So
Also, it's got this so-called biconcave shape. We have a name for this. It's biconcave. This is a biconcave shape where it's dipped in the middle. Why that biconcave shape?
Like, would they, I'm not sure.
That's to maximize the surface area of absorption of the oxygen. Maximize the surface area. For absorption of oxygen. Now, because they don't have a nucleus, unlike your skin cells, which have a nucleus, what can your skin cells do? Because they've got DNA in the nucleus. They can divide and form new skin cells. These guys cannot do that. There is no DNA in here. There is no cytoplasm. Sorry, there's no vacuum or anything like that. Yes? And they can't divide. So they go into the liver, are broken down. But the liver just doesn't break them down. It takes the iron that is inside them and stores it, because your body will have to produce more red blood cells. Any idea where red blood cells are made? Where do you make these red blood cells?
Would they be in the heart?
Nope. Red blood cells are made in the bone marrow. So deep inside your bones. And they're made using this oxygen that is stored from the liver. Right. Raheel, we'll have to break it up now there. But those are the main key parts on the role that the liver plays. Do watch the video if you have to. Yes, and I would definitely encourage that, because there've been a lot of major points here that you could do with trying to almost make a few notes yourself. Okay. Do you have a biology revision guide that you refer to from time to time?
I have my textbook.
You got your textbook? Okay.
Yeah.
Refresh yourself with some of the notes in your textbook as well. To be great. You're not having any end of term tests this term, are you? I don't think so, given that.
Yeah,
okay.
one.
No,
But they're going to make a comeback for the last day.
Okay. All right.
I don't think
Okay.
we have any lessons in.
Oh, I see. Okay. No problems. So I will give you some work to cover these topics as well, to cover this. And then tomorrow we can look at making, what should we say, 6:30 start?
Yeah.
That's fine. Okay. So we're doing some maths tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we've done the sciences, so now we're going to be doing some maths. Am I right? Yes. Hang on.
Wait.
I'm losing track of what we
We
did.
just
Did we do
maths last lesson.
Yeah, we did maths last lesson. You're right. Biology. We are doing another science, aren't we? Yes, you're right. Yes. So what do you want to go through then? Chemistry or physics?
I think physics.
No problem. So I'll see you tomorrow at 6:30 then, and we'll go through some physics. Did I give you some homework for physics? Possibly.
I think probably. Yeah,
I'll
I think
check
so.
as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll just have a
Oh,
look.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah, good stuff. I'll wish you a lovely evening, and I'll see you tomorrow at 6:30. Okay.
You too.
All right then. Cheers. Thank you. See you
Bye.
soon. Bye then.